Okay, so we're in the book that is called Interest. Sometimes I refer to it as finance, but it is actually titled Interest. So that's today we're actually going to be talking about simple interest. Last class we talked about banks and banking procedures, PIN numbers, that sort of thing. Today we're going to talk about simple interest, and we'll have 2 lessons on it just to make sure we get what we're doing. So before we start, so we're on page 6. Before we start, we have to talk about how do we change percents to decimal. So if you get something in percentage, what you do is you divide the percentage by 100 to change it to a decimal. Okay, or you can just move the decimal 2 places to the left. Okay, so how does that work? So if we divide 18% by 100, we get 0.18. If we divide 6% by 100, basically we're dividing it by 100% because all percent is out of hundreds, right? Percent. Cent is 100 cents in a dollar, right? So this would become 0.06 divided by 100, 0.625 divided by 100. Oop, why did I go in that order? This should become 0.025. You can see it. Basically, I'm just moving the decimal place 2 bases to the left. Divide by 100, 0.002. 17.6 divided by 100, 0.176. We also want to think about some other conversions because interest often has to deal with time. Months, years, days, etc. Okay, so before we start, let's just make sure we understand some of our baseline knowledge. How many days in a year? 365. So to convert days to years, you divide by the number of days by 365. Number of days by 365. So if you're given 30 days and you want to convert that to years, you divide 30 by 365. How many months in a year? 12. To convert months to years, divide number of months I should just really enlarge this so I can write it nice. Divide the number of months by 12. Okay. How many weeks in a year? There are 52 weeks in a year. So to convert weeks to years, do you see a pattern? Divide number of weeks by 12. Okay. So if we want to convert the following times for years, we're going to think about these conversions and we're going to use them. So 23 days, how many years? We divide by 365 and we will get 0.1 years. And it says to round to the nearest tenth. 486 days, we divide by 365 and we'll get 1.3. 85 weeks, for weeks we divide by 52, we get 1.6 years. 12 weeks, we divide by 52, we get 0.2 years. 5 months, we divide by 12. 5 divided by 12 is 0.4. 34 months, divide by 12, we get 2.8 years. 3 weeks and 2 days. First, convert your weeks to days. There are 7 days in a week, so 3 times 7 equals 21, plus 2 is 23 days. We divide by 365, and we get 0.1. It's the same as A. 3 years and 4 months. All right, so we can keep the 3. We just divide the months by 12. So we're going to have 3 plus 4 divided by 12. 4 divided by 12 is 0.3 repeating. So it'll be 3.3 repeating, but it just wants it to the 10th, so it'll be 3.3 years. You could also convert your years to months and then add them, but that's an extra step. You don't need to do that. Okay? Introduction. Now, yesterday we talked about banking and we talked about interest rates. We talked about fees. One of the reasons you want to put your money in a bank, besides keeping it safe, is that it can earn you interest. Because what's happening, you're lending the bank your money. You're saying, here, you hold on to my money. You can use it while you're holding on to it to earn other money, but you got to pay me for that. So you earn interest when you keep a certain balance in the bank. When you borrow money from a bank, you're charged interest, and you have to pay that back, the money you borrowed, plus interest in a given amount of time. So that's how the bank makes money. They lend your money to someone else, and they earn interest on it so that they can pay you interest for using it. Okay? Now, there's 2 types of interest you can earn or be charged. In this lesson, we're going to look at the first one, which is called simple interest. Okay? Now, simple interest is based on the principal or the original amount, okay, invested or borrowed. And interest is stated as a percentage per annum, per year. Time is stated in years. It's a very simple formula. But we need to know the years. So, we're going to complete the table below to show how an investment of $25,000 will grow over 5 years using simple interest. Okay? So, let's take a look at what happens. Our principal amount is $2,500. Okay? The interest rate is, well, we've been given 5% per year, and we're growing it over 5 years using simple interest. So the interest rate is 5%, which we can divide by 100 and just express it as a decimal. Okay? So we've just converted this to decimal, right? By dividing by 100. So interest amount will be $2,500 times that interest, which is $125. So the balance at the end of the year will be, oh my goodness, not too far, will be $2,500 plus that $125 that we earned, which will be $2,625. So that's how much we made. Okay. Now, and in the second year, now interest is, in simple interest is only earned on that principal amount. So our principal is $2,500. We had it at 5%, which is the same as 0.05, right? Same thing here, 2,500 times 0.05 equals 125. Now we have this balance at the end of the year, which is 2625, and we add that 125. So now we have 2,750. Okay. Third year, First columns look very similar, right? We're earning interest on our principal, and it's the same amount, 125. But now we have 2750 plus 125, which is equal to 2,875. Do you see a pattern? Again, the balance, 5%, which equals 0.05. So 2,500 times 0.05 equals 125. Same thing. But here now we're adding 2,875 plus 125, which gives us 3,000. Now there is a faster way to learn this. After we finish this last year, this last column, we're gonna learn a formula. So our principal times our interest rate, we're going to earn another $125. So now we'll go 3,000 plus 125 equals 3,125. Okay, so after 5 years, that's our total. Now, instead of using this table and adding up everything, wouldn't it be nice to have a formula? Well, bingo, we do. The formula for simple interest is as follows. So this is simple interest. It's just your most basic kind. In this formula, I equals the interest. So that's how much you earn. P is the principal. So that's the amount you invested. R is the rate. So that's the percent, and we convert it to a decimal. And T is the time in years that you invest your money for. So we're going to use this formula to solve our interest question. Now, how would that work? Well, let's look even at the question we just did. We had a principal of $2,500. The rate was 0.05, and the time was 5 years. So the interest we earn is going to be 2,500 times 0.05 times 5 years. And when we multiply that through 2,500 times 0.05 times 5, we get $625. Now you're saying, but Mrs. Finley, that's not what we had at the end. No, it's not, because our total amount would be plus the principal. So if we add 625 plus 2,500, we get 3,125. Okay, this is the interest we've earned, but our total amount of money that we have in our bank account is the 3,125. Okay, let's do some examples with this so we get an idea of how exactly this works. Okay, so, and you're going to notice I'm going to do some certain things that I like to do. Makes us a good mathematician, makes us a good organized student. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a list of what I know. So Clark opened a savings account by depositing $500. After 3 months, what was the amount of interest earned if his rate was 5.5% per year? Well, let's look at this. So, we want to know the amount of interest. That's what we're looking for, right? Our principal is $500. Our rate, our interest rate, was 5.5%, and we want that in decimals, so divide that by 100, and we'll get 0.055. And our time is 3 months. So we need to divide that by how many months in a year? 12 months, right? To get our number, our years. So 3 divided by 12 is 0.25 years. Okay? So we make a list of what we know. That's the first thing we do. Then we write the formula. I is equal to PRT. Well, we know all these things. 500 is P, R is 0.055, and our time is 0.25. When we multiply those all together, we're going to get $6.88. Okay, so that's in 3 months, he earned $6.88 on $500. Okay, and we just needed to find out the interest. So, again, first thing I like to do is make a list of what I know. Suppose you decided to invent $500 at a rate of 4% per year for 18 months. Calculate the amount of interest you would earn. So let's make a list of what we know. So our interest is what we're looking for. Our principal, again, is $500. Our rate is 4%. We want that in decimal, so we divide by 100, 0.04. And our time is 18 months. Now, how many months in a year? Because we need to know years. 12 months, so we've got to divide. 18 divided by 12 is 1.5 years. Okay, I have everything I need to know, so my interest is going to be PRT. Write the formula out, and then substitute in 500 times 0.04 times 1.5. We multiply through, and you should get $30. So over 18 months, he earned $30 on his 500. Okay, which is for that interest rate, that's what you get. Okay, and it's simple interest. Tomorrow or Monday, we're going to do compound interest, which is a little more rewarding. Okay, example number 4. Again, first thing we do, so we make a list of what we know. Ellie invested $100 at a rate of 5% for 2 years and 3 months. We want to calculate the interest earned. So let's make a list of what we know and what we're looking for. We want to find the interest rate. The principal is $100. The rate is 5%. We divide 5% by 100, and it'll be 0.05 as a decimal, right? And our time is 2 years and 3 months. Now, I've already got my 2 years, so let's divide the 3 months by 12 months, and I will get 2.2, well, let's just spread it out so we know what we're doing here. 2 plus 3 divided by 12 is 0.25. So I have 2.25 years. Okay. Now, write our formula out. I equals PRT. Substitute in the 100, the 0.05, and the 2.25. 100 times 0.05 times 2.25, and I get 11.25. So she made $11.25 on her $100 investment after 2 years and 3 months. Okay, hopefully we're seeing a pattern to these, and these are making sense. Let's do the next one. Calculate the total amount of money Ellie has after 2 years and 3 months. Well, what we have to do to get the total, well, it's going to equal the principal plus the interest. Okay, so we know our principal is 100, and our interest we just calculated is 11.25. So she would have $111.25 after. Okay, so thinking about that your total amount is always going to be your principal plus your interest. Okay. Example number 5. John invested $350 at a rate of 6% per year. Calculate the total amount of money at the end of 3 months. So first we have to calculate our interest, and then we can figure out the total. So make a list of what we know and what we're looking for. We want to know the interest. Our principal is $350. Our interest rate, R, is 6%, which is 0.06 as a decimal. We divide by 100 for that. And our time is 3 months. Now, we need to put it in years, so we have to divide by 12 months because there are 12 months in a year. 3 divided by 12 is 0.25 years. Okay, now we have everything we need for interest. It's PRT, so that's 350 times 0.06 times 0.25, and we get $5.25. Now, we were asked to find the total. The total is principal plus interest. So that's 350 plus 525. So it's 355.25 for our total. Okay? Hopefully this is making sense. Lots of examples just so that you can have a good sense of them. Okay? And we'll do more practice later today too. Example 6. Kenny invested $2,000 in an account with an interest rate of 1.4%. He earned 14.96 in simple interest. For how long did Kenny invest his principal money to the nearest tenth of a year? Now this one's a little tricky because we have to rearrange our formulas. We should know how to do that because we did that when we did our surface area and volume formulas. So basically we're just going to rearrange. So we know our interest. Our interest is 14.96. Our principal is 2,000. And our interest rate is 1.4%, which is 0.014. What we're looking for is the time, right? We don't know that. So let's put in what we do know. Okay? Our interest is 14.96. Our principal is 2,000. Our rate is 0.014. And we don't know our time. We can, at this point, do this multiplication. So we're going to do that multiplication at this point. So we'll get 14.96 equals 2,000 times 0.014 is 28 times time. And now, to isolate t, we're going to divide 28 out of both sides. Okay? So when we do, 28 divided by 28 is 1. And we have 14.96 divided by 28. 14.96 divided by 28. Righty. Oops. Sorry. 14.96 divided by 28 gives me 0.534 blah, 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 blah. Now it wants it to the nearest tenth of a year, so 0.5 years equals t. Okay? So it's just a little rearranging. If it's a multiple choice question, you could just try all the different answers and see which one works. Okay? Jody earned, let's see what we know, 48.74 in interest on money in a savings account. She invested her principal at an annual rate of 2.3% for 13 weeks. How much money did she invest? So we're looking for the principal, right? So we know our interest is 48.74. We know we're looking for our principal. The rate is 2.3%. We change it to a decimal, it'll be 0.023. And the time is 13 weeks. So we need to change that to years. How many weeks in a year? 52 weeks, so we divide. And we get 13 divided by 52 is 0.25 years. Okay, so let's put this in our formula. I equals PRT. We know our interest, 48.74 is equal to P, we don't know P, times our rate, which is 0.023, times our time, which is 0.25. Now, we can multiply this first. Okay, we'll get 48.74 equals P times 0.00575. Now what we're going to do is we're going to divide both sides by 0.00575. We do it to one side, we have to do it to the other. It divides out on that side. And on the other side, we'll get 48.74 divided by 0.00575 equals 8476.52. And that's how much she invested. So that's her principal amount. Okay, so those ones where they're missing something other than interest can be a little trickier, but just go slow and think about what you do know and rearrange to solve for that missing piece. Okay, so you have some practice to do. Remember, you've got a couple of conversions, converting the interest rate from percent to decimal and converting the time from whatever form it is into years. If it's already in years, you're good to go. But if it's weeks or months or days, you have to do those divisions to get to the right